All right, let's talk dealing with trash. Dogs running trash, trash breaking dogs. If you hunt with your dog, specifically squirrels, coons, but any kind of chase or tree dog, you're going to deal with trash. So it's very important. And I'll say it is so much easier to prevent creating a trashy dog than it is to fix a trashy dog. And what I mean by that is basically don't think of your dog running trash. Don't think of your part in that as a reaction to a problem you're already experiencing. Your time is way better spent viewing trash as something you work into the development of your dog. Every dog I've had to do it. The dog that comes to mind, the biggest pain in the butt dog I ever had was a dog named Chicory. She was a walker. And I trained her to squirrel hunt and coon hunt. I wanted to turn her into a combo dog, and I love that dog, but my God, was she trashy, and it was my fault. I started her out like most people start out. I got a dog. She happened to be 6 months old. We'd been going on nice little confidence building walks up to this point. You know, when she became when I first got her as a 9 week old puppy, I'd take her out on little walks, and she was scared of everything around her. And, you know, up to the 6 month point in life, she had started ranging out, and I'd even seen her try to chase a squirrel. So I thought, oh, she's ready. So I did what everybody does. And I just took that dog to the woods, and I said, shoe leather, I'm just going to cut her out, and we're going to make a squirrel dog, just enough trips to the woods. And, you know, that's the advice 9 out of 10 guys get. And, you know, it's not necessarily wrong, but there's a much better way. And I didn't know that at the time. So anyways, I did that, and I got lucky. It happened to be early November, which a lot of acorns on the ground, a lot of squirrels in the woods here in the Ozarks here in Arkansas. So just happened to be a really good time to do that with a dog. And wouldn't you know, right away she got on squirrels. And so she started having success, and she started treeing. And I thought I just had me a natural bang up squirrel dog and it was over. So we just kept doing that. And as the year went on and the squirrels thinned out, and it doesn't even have to be that, but just enough trips in the woods, she came across a deer. And she started running that deer, and I didn't know what she was doing. So I let it happen without realizing it was happening. And she just, over the course of time, she got used to running deer, and she loved it. And by the time I did figure out what was going on, it had already turned into a huge problem. And that problem plagued me with that dog all the way up to the almost the very end. Right before I got rid of her, I finally broke her on deer. It would have been much easier to start out with Chicory in a structured training program that made room for trash, right? So had I have had a confident dog that was ranging out, and this is why I'm such an advocate of starting out on a caged squirrel with a sight chase than just taking a dog to the woods, because if you take a dog to the woods and you turn it out, you don't know what that dog's going to come across, and it's not always going to be what you want that dog to chase, and your dog's going to get exposure to trash. And so you're starting out with a problem that you can completely avoid by just cage trapping your target animal, a squirrel in my case. And now when you walk your dog up to the cage, you know what's in the cage. You put it there. You caught the thing, right? It's not going to be like, oh no, there's a deer in that cage. No, it's a squirrel. Your dog is on target game. And you can do it in an area where now all of it's in a yard or something. All of its focus is on that cage. There could be deer 50 yards in the woods watching this whole thing go on, and your dog has no idea. Your dog's not learning to run trash. It's not learning to chase those deer. And that's what I should have done with her. It would have avoided trash. I mean, eventually you have to show them trash, and you have to let them know that it's off limits. So I could have got her lots and lots of confidence on a few caged squirrels, then taken her to a park or some place that has a bunch of trees and give her some rewards for treeing squirrels up a tree. Now that she's had some success, right? Now that she understands what I want her to chase and she's been rewarded, now it's time to think about what she's going to cross paths with that I don't want her to cross path with, and I could have introduced them to her that way. With deer, you know, it's really easy. You go out at night with a light, you know, go coon hunting with your dog, and you'll see all the deer you want to see. And I don't know what the reasoning is, but at night, deer just react different unless they've been poached. Unless they've been shot at with spotlight dudes, it doesn't take them very long to get a fear of that. But they just react to you differently at night, and they'll let you get close. I can't tell you how many deer I've been within 20 yards of that are bedded up whenever I'm out hunting at night, and they just don't care. So I could have walked her on a leash up to a deer, just downwind of a deer, where she got that nose full of that deer, and as soon as I saw her react to the nose full of the deer, I could have given her a no. And that's it. We just go on some night walks like that in the beginning, and we just go find deer, and we get downwind of them, and I let her smell them, and I tell her no. But then eventually you got to trust them, right? Eventually you can't do all your hunting on a leash. You got to unclip that leash. So after they've heard no on a dozen or so deer, they understand, okay, he doesn't want me chasing that smell. Well, now it's time to go out there, find one, cut it loose. And the moment she starts going toward that deer, nick that deer, or let's see, YouTube friendly words here. Electronically encourage your dog to not go after that deer. Or if you don't have one of those, you can use various kinds of collars, tell them no, give them a little bit of a pressure on a prong collar, or they call them a choker collar, or something like that. You can look up different ways to do it. But think about how much further that approach would have gone into trash breaking that dog on deer versus, oh, I'm just going to take my dog out to the woods and I'm going to cut it loose and I'm going to hope it finds exactly what I want it to find and run it. It just doesn't make sense. She also turned into an armadillo dog. I've got a problem right now with Garrett. Armadillos. That dog loves to chase armadillos. So I should have done it in the beginning, and I didn't do it in the beginning, but I should have, after Garrett understood that he was to be a squirrel dog. He's a squirrel dog, and he's a solid combo dog. He'll tree a coon. I let him tree possums just because it's more fun with me and my sons at night. He'll tree a coon, he'll tree a possum, and he'll chase squirrels in the daylight. And I really like that in a dog. In a perfect world, I'd have nothing but combo dogs. But he likes armadillos. And, had I have introduced him to, let's say, squirrels in the beginning, and then got out and trapped an armadillo and put it in the backyard, let him get a nose full of it and just tell him no. Spend an afternoon walking around that cage. No. And then you can go out and find armadillos the same way. You can trap them. They're super easy to trap. You just get a cage trap, go dig some dirt out of the front of a hole of another armadillo's den outside of your area. They're extremely territorial. You put that dirt inside a cage trap and you're going to have an armadillo in it pretty quick. They're that easy to catch. But I could have trapped one, and I could have introduced him to him and let him know in a controlled environment where he wasn't free to run them and chase them and chew them. And he could have found out that they were off limits right away, and I would have saved myself, such a headache than the way I went about it. So it's just something to think about with your dogs and trash. You're going to have to encounter it, so why not work it into your training program? That's why I'm an advocate for keeping things controlled like I do. It's not because I want everything locked down. I get on a lot of videos, I get comments from, you just got to turn them loose. You just got to turn them loose. Shoe leather. And I get it, y'all. That works. I've been there and I've done it, but you can, what your dog doesn't learn is probably more important than what your dog does learn. And you can save yourself a lot of headaches by just thinking a little further out and saying, okay, yeah, I get it. Shoe leather is important for finishing them out, but why not introduce these dogs to what they're going to encounter, issues they're going to have? Why not introduce those dogs to those situations in controlled environments where you can help them succeed and you can help them fail? And trash breaking is no different. When a dog is showing you signs that he's ready to hunt, I suggest going, that's when you ease him into what he's supposed to hunt. Let him get some sight chases, let him get some experience in the parks on easy squirrels and stuff. And once they have an idea of what they're supposed to do, in between that time of that first sight chase squirrel and when you cut them out into the woods to start going, it's probably time to introduce them to trash that they're not allowed to have. That way, when they do encounter it, their reaction is going to be one of familiarity. Oh, I'm not supposed to do that. All right, I hope you found the information in that video useful. If you did, please like, comment, and subscribe. We got plenty more coming.